In the heart of the university, where the air was thick with the scent of old paper and dried chalk, Ridge sat at a mahogany desk. A professor's voice droned on about the mechanics of ancient markets, but Ridge's mind was miles away. To him, the square window was not just a source of light. It was a portal to the places where the wind had no walls. While his roommates studied the trajectories of stocks, Ridge studied the topography of the unknown. That evening, as the dorm grew quiet with the sound of flipping pages, he didn't reach for a textbook. He reached for his weathered pack, stuffing it with a wool sweater, a compass, and the restless energy that only the wild could satisfy. The lecture hall was empty the next morning, at least in the spot where Ridge usually sat. By the time the sun touched the campus spires, he was already miles deep into the emerald fringe. Here, the air was heavy with the smell of damp earth and crushed mint, and the only syllabus was the shifting patterns of the leaves. Deep within the canopy, the trail vanished into a sea of moss. Ridge wasn't alone for long. He met Fern, a fellow traveler who lived by the rhythm of the seasons rather than the ring of a bell. She didn't ask about his major or his grades. She only asked if he was ready for the climb that lay ahead. Together, they navigated the treacherous, whispering gorge. A bridge of hemp and weathered planks swayed over the mist, singing a creaky song with every step. For Ridge, the adrenaline of the height was a sharper teacher than any lecture, reminding him that balance was something felt, not just calculated. As the jungle thinned, the world turned to stone and sky. Fern stayed behind in the valley, but Ridge pressed upward. The air grew thin and cold, biting at his lungs, but every breath felt like a victory. He hauled himself over granite ledges, his fingers finding grip in the cracks of the earth's ancient spine. At the summit, the world finally went silent. The mountains rolled away like frozen waves of blue and purple, and the clouds drifted beneath his boots. Ridge stood there, a tiny speck against the vastness, realizing that the most important lessons weren't found in answers, but in the scale of the questions. That night, he reunited with Fern at a small base camp nestled in a rocky hollow. They sat by a crackling fire, the smoke rising to join the stars. Over a shared tin of warm beans, they spoke of the world as it was, raw, beautiful, and indifferent to schedules. And Ridge felt more awake than he ever had in a classroom. Eventually, the gravity of his other life pulled him back. A week later, Ridge stood in the university library, the silence here feeling different than the silence of the peaks. He looked at a map of the world, but he no longer saw lines and borders. He saw the ridges he had climbed and the valleys that still waited. He walked into his Tuesday morning seminar just as the professor began to speak. His boots were still stained with the red mud of the jungle, and a dried leaf fell from his notebook as he opened it. He took his seat, a secret smile on his face, knowing that while he might be present for the lecture, he would always be a student of the wild.